Hisuian Trainer! The Hisuian Trainer is a highly technical stance change character that excels at controlling the stage through a wide variety of abilities, along with a huge slew of allies. They can be used to rack up damage surprisingly quickly and add a whole new way for a Pokemon trainer to work in Smash. In terms of design, the Hisuian Trainer's setup and Okizeme game is their strongest aspect as a fighter. His set abilities can allow for dangerous frame traps and 50-50 scenarios that can lead to you scoring KOs far earlier than you'd expect. However, as much potential as the Hisuian Trainer has, this huge tool list keeps them from being anywhere near that of a beginner-friendly character, as most of the Hisuian Trainer's weaknesses come from a general inexperience with the tools you have access to. Most of the trainer's strongest tools can be forced into a cooldown, and in turn, can restrict the trainer's ability to challenge your opponent's approach. And if you remove those best tools from play, the Hisuian Trainer is a sitting duck for any character that can close gaps and suffocate them with offense. As a Hisuian Trainer player, it's your job to balance your tools effectively and make sure you have a strong understanding of the most effective range for all of your options. And regardless of whether or not you're playing at a low level, a high level, or even a quote-unquote upper mid-tier level, failing to learn these basics will land you in hot water. The Hisuian Trainer stands as a medium-sized humanoid character, their height being similar to characters like Robin and Link. Why am I talking about the height of the trainers themselves? Simple, because unlike the trainer we have in Smash already, the player will be in direct control of the trainer at all times, not the trainer's Pokemon. While this might seem odd at first, this design aspect comes from the general design of Pokemon Legends Arceus, with the trainer having a far more active role and being able to freely move around during most of the game's battles, all while also reacting accordingly if they stand in the way of an incoming attack from either Pokemon. As a result of this design, the stats you see on the right are attributed to the trainer, with these stats altering slightly depending on which Pokemon the player has active. In total, the trainer will have access to 3 Pokemon, with all of them essentially acting as a moveset extension as opposed to individual fighters, and all of them sharing the same general stats as the trainer themselves. While that's the case, each Pokemon will provide the trainer with unique movement options once they're active, all while bringing their own unique strengths and weaknesses to the trainer's kit that will change how they play and set up damage. These Pokemon are Hisuian Decidueye, Hisuian Typhlosion, and Hisuian Samurott. Starting with Hisuian Decidueye, this grass-flying type is the all-rounder of the trainer's team, with his kit being the most straightforward and a great entry point for those looking to learn the trainer's ins and outs. With Hisuian Decidueye active, the player will have access to great buttons, some great combo options, and a reliable projectile. But compared to the other 2 Pokemon, Decidueye's damage output is notably smaller to compensate. On top of that, Decidueye works best at close to mid-range, and might end up losing long-range fights against characters with multiple projectile options. Moving on to Hisuian Typhlosion, this fire ghost type is a mid-range fire who sports the strongest stage control options out of the 3, with his kit sporting multiple projectiles, long-range buttons, and a variety of dangerous traps. This design gives Typhlosion the strongest neutral out of all 3 Pokemon, as well as the highest damage potential. But in turn, Typhlosion sports the worst frame data out of all 3 Pokemon. As a result, it's important to keep some modicum of range when using Typhlosion, as characters with quick buttons will be able to heavily punish this Pokemon's attempts to set up damage. Finally, there's Hisuian Samurott, the water dark type that serves as the trainer's close range fire and also sports the quickest attacks. Samurott's greatest strength is his ability to set up short yet powerful combo strings, all while sporting a variety of attacks designed to break through defenses and cut his opponent's shield to pieces with its fantastic frame data. However, Samurott's lack of a projectile can make it difficult to set up on opponents trying to keep their distance, and while his attacks are fast, some of his more dangerous moves can take quite a while to recover from. All 3 Pokemon will sport their own unique combos and setups, and thanks to the fact that the player controls the trainer, they're essentially invincible as long as the trainer remains on screen. They will return to their Pokeballs briefly if the trainer is hit, however, much like how Luma and Nana will panic if their teammate is hit, but at most, all an opponent can do is simply hit them to interrupt their attacks. In terms of mobility options, the trainer on their own sports 2 jumps and can crawl, but these options will change depending on which Pokemon is active. With Decidueye active, the trainer will have 3 jumps instead of 2, all while gaining a wall jump and a wall cling while Samurott is active. Typhlosion doesn't give the player any additional options, but instead changes the regular grab to a tether grab. When it comes to designing unique trainers for Smash Brothers, I personally feel that the Pokemon Trainers formula is hard to replicate, and even harder to add to without bastardizing it. Thankfully, the design of the Hisuian Trainer is quite separated from that of the regular trainer, and thanks to the simple design change of making the trainer controllable as opposed to the Pokemon, we don't need to stick to only 3 Pokemon. Yes, while the Hisuian Trainer sports 3 Pokemon that can alter their moveset, these aren't the only Pokemon they can summon onto the battlefield, and this comes in the form of their character mechanic, Hisuian Allies. Through the use of their specials, the Hisuian Trainer will be able to use the abilities of 3 other Pokemon, with these being based on the right Pokemon from Legends and essentially giving the trainer a full team of 6 Pokemon. However, unlike the Hisuian starters, which will actively move around and attack in time with their trainer, these Pokemon will act independently and must be ordered to attack using unique commands, on top of sporting separate health bars that can force them out of commission if they take too much damage. In total, the Hisuian Trainer can call upon the assistance of Ursaluna, Wyrdeer, and Hisuian Braviary. Starting with the most terrifying of the 3, Ursaluna is a massive powerhouse that is the most independent of the 3 assists. Once summoned onto the field, Ursaluna will act almost like that of a Pokeball Pokemon, with the massive bear remaining passive unless an opponent gets too close to Ursaluna's current location. Should an opponent attempt to enter the bear's den, Ursaluna will charge towards them and perform its signature attack, Headlong Rush. This causing Ursaluna to rush forward and slam its paw into the ground, causing a huge wave of power to rise up and launch all foes in its path with heavy force. Normally, Ursaluna will refuse to move from its initial position, regardless of how much the trainer moves around the screen, but by using a unique satchel item, the player will be able to move Ursaluna around the stage, essentially cutting off your opponent's approach and forcing them to fight the terrifying bear head-on. However, despite being terrifying, Ursaluna can indeed be defeated by opponents, with 35% forcing Ursaluna back into his ball and 105% causing Ursaluna to faint, removing him from play for a total of 12 seconds. You can call Ursaluna back at any time should you fear he's going to take unneeded damage, but I'll discuss that more when we get to the trainer specials. Moving on to Wyrdeer, this majestic beast will allow the trainer to hitch a ride as he rushes across the screen using his signature attack, Psy-Shield Bash, his body cloaked in psychic energy and launching all opponents in his path on hit. This rushing dash will provide a disjoint in front of Wyrdeer as he attacks, but should he be hit by an incoming move, be it physical or projectile, the dash will end and Wyrdeer will return to his Pokeball. This rushing dash will provide a small disjoint in front of Wyrdeer as he attacks, but should he be hit by an incoming attack, be it physical or projectile, the dash will end and Wyrdeer will return to his Pokeball. And if Wyrdeer takes a total of 60% damage, he'll faint and be forced out of commission for a total of 8 seconds. In comparison to Ursaluna, Wyrdeer excels at ending combos set up by the trainer's starter Pokemon, all while returning to his ball immediately once the attack ends. This move also sports a surprisingly fast startup, making it a great way to get opponents out of your comfort zone or punish neutral mistakes. Finally, there's Hisuian Braviary. This Hisuian variant of Unova's Freedom Bird serving as the trainer's recovery assistant as it takes them up into the air, all before diving back down towards the stage and barreling through any opponent in its path. Much like Wyrdeer, Hisuian Braviary will sport a disjoint on his hitbox during the initial rising attack, but hitting Braviary at any point during the recovery will cause him to return to his Pokeball, and dealing 40% damage will put Braviary out of commission. Thankfully, you'll only need to wait a total of 4 seconds for Braviary to become active again, but those 4 seconds can feel like an eternity to go without your main recovery option. Each of these Pokemon will sport a health bar next to the Hisuian Trainer's character icon, with the icon for each bar being designed after the same icons used to represent each Pokemon in Legends Arceus. Normally, each bar will be grayed out, but once the assist Pokemon has been summoned, the icon corresponding to the Pokemon will light up and the bar will change color to match the icon. If one of the Pokemon takes too much damage and faints, the icon will change to black before slowly starting to refill back to its original color, with this essentially acting as a visual timer for the player to keep track of instead of having to do said time management in their head. Once the icon fills back up, it will let off a small burst of light as the Pokemon's cry will play, and if the player is idle, they'll also play a small animation to go alongside it. Overall, the Hisuian Trainer is a character that's packed to the brim with versatility and attack options, and managing them effectively is going to be the aspect of the trainer that's going to take the longest to learn. In fact, there's so much that goes into properly placing and using your options that I feel that the Hisuian Trainer not only has one of the highest skill ceilings, but also one of the biggest barriers for entry, meaning they're not designed to be a beginner-friendly character. If you want a taste of how out there these characters are, let's now move on to the Hisuian Trainer's normals and show just how much goes into this departure of tradition. For their normals, the Hisuian Trainer's Pokemon will all sport their own unique movesets, while the trainer themselves will keep their attack animations consistent regardless of which Pokemon is active. These animations are mainly comprised of pointing, kicking, and rolling, and while the trainer's damage is fairly weak, they're mainly used to either link into their Pokemon's attacks or just add on a bit more damage. Your active Pokemon will be doing most of the heavy lifting, but don't think that just because you can't equal their damage means that you are a crucial part of this moveset's design. The Hisuian Trainer's neutral combo is Command Combo, a quick series of blows that will have the Hisuian Trainer order their Pokemon to attack, with each Pokemon having unique combos that suit their playstyle. Decidueye will attack by performing a 3-hit combination consisting of wing strikes and kicks, all before attacking with a rapid series of kicks for an endless combo. Typhlosion will attack by releasing a wave of ghostly embers, with this attack counting as an endless combo that can be held until the player releases the attack button. Finally, Samurott will attack using a 4-hit combination courtesy of his Shell Sword, with the final hit being a powerful upward cut to launch foes away with force. In terms of usability, both Decidueye and Samurott can use their neutral combos to check buttons and deal decent damage in the process, while Typhlosion's attack is designed to push opponents out who get too close, which goes nicely with their mid to long range playstyle. Hisuian Trainer's side tilt is Tactical Strike, with this having the trainers attack by pointing out in front of themselves in an ordering manner. This very short range and weak blow is then followed up by an attack from their Pokemon, with Decidueye attacking using a pair of kicks that will launch opponents upwards after the second strike, Typhlosion attacking by swiping his arm forward, creating a wave of purple fire that will hit multiple times before knocking foes back, while Samurott will attack with a fast horizontal swing from his sword, with it covering a solid range and sporing a disjoint that's hard to trade with. Both Typhlosion and Samurott use their attacks more for spacing and checking the opponent's approach in the neutral, while Decidueye's attack can be both a spacing tool and a combo starter depending on whether or not you cancel the move before the second kick. Hisuian Trainer's up tilt is Anti-Air Formation, with this having the trainer swing their arm up, pointing above themselves and ordering their Pokemon to direct their attacks upwards. Decidueye will follow up this order by performing an overhead slash with his wing, knocking foes up on hit and covering his entire hurt box in the process. Typhlosion will create a shadowy set of claws and slash upwards, launching opponents on hit and sporing the most vertical range. While Samurott will attack above himself with an overhead slash from his sword, with this being the quickest of the trainer's up tilt options. All 3 Pokemon can use these tilts as both combo starters and anti-airs, with Samurott's attack being one of his best hit confirms that sports a decent range, while Typhlosion's attack can potentially become a kill confirm at higher percents. Hisuian Trainer's down tilt is Low Sweep Formation, a more direct attack that will have the Hisuian Trainer strike with a low hitting kick, with this attack covering average range and dealing below average damage. While the effort from the trainer is appreciated, the trainer's Pokemon will back them up by following up said kick with an attack of their own. Decidueye will attack with a sweeping wing strike that will knock foes away on hit. Typhlosion will spit out a wave of fire that will remain on the ground for a short time, with this carpet hitting up to 3 times before knocking foes away. Finally, Samurott will attack with an advancing stab, sliding along the ground with his weapon extended. In terms of usability, all 3 Pokemon can use this to set up further damage in different ways, with Decidueye being able to jump cancel his attack while both Typhlosion and Samurott can follow up their attacks with a variety of options. Typhlosion can even use this fire carpet to set up kills at higher percents, so it's an important part of his game plan. Hisuian Trainer's dash attack is Tactical Dive, a more direct approach from the trainer that will have them leap forward, barreling into any opponent in their path and knocking them away with decent force. This is designed to reference the dodge roll of Legends Arceus, which is the trainer's main way of maneuvering around incoming damage and dealing with attacks from both wild Pokemon and the game's various boss Pokemon. And while the Hisuian Trainer will put themselves at risk by diving into their opponent, their Pokemon will back them up by adding both more range and damage to their daring attempt to approach. Decidueye will attack with a spinning dive that will hit multiple times before launching foes away. Typhlosion will attack by charging into his opponent headfirst to knock them back, all while Samurott will perform a rushing slash, cutting through his opponent in order to launch them away with solid force. In terms of usability, all 3 dash attacks are roughly on par with one another, as any of them can confirm kills if the opponent's percent is high enough. However, all 3 of these attacks are unsafe on both block and whiff, so it's best to only use them when you have your opponent off guard. Further get-up attacks, the Hisuian Trainer will attack around themselves by performing a variety of kick attacks, all while their active Pokemon will help them attack when getting up from the ledge. Decidueye will attack with an axe kick, Typhlosion will attack with a small blast of fire, and Samurott will attack with a straight stab from his shell sword, all while the trainer themselves points forward and gives the order to attack. Further smash attacks, the Hisuian Trainer will tap into one of the unique attack styles from Legends Arceus to give their Pokemon the boost they need to crush their opposition. Strong Style. This unique attack effect will grant the Hisuian Trainer's active Pokemon more damage and knockback if the player fully charges their smash attacks, creating opportunities to kill fairly early in exchange for a notable increase in end lag. However, should the player simply input the smash attack without charging, the Hisuian Trainer will instead activate Agile Style to give its Pokemon a notable boost in speed, allowing them to use their smash attacks faster in exchange for dealing less damage. Both of these unique boosts have their purpose in the Hisuian Trainer's game plan, so be sure you play around with them and get used to their properties before picking an actual fight. The Hisuian Trainer's forward smash is Power Forward, with this having the trainer order their Pokemon to perform one of their most powerful attacks straight out in front of themselves. Decidueye will follow this order by performing a pair of roundhouse kicks to launch foes away with solid force, covering decent range and locking opponent into the second hit if the first one lands. Typhlosion will follow this order by unleashing a powerful blast of purple fire, this ghost-like flame blowing apart into smaller wisps and launching opponents in its path with some notable power. Finally, Samurott will follow this order by leaning back before rushing forward and performing a powerful vertical slash, with this dark blow cleaving through all opponents in its path with heavy force and launching with solid power. In comparison to one another, Decidueye's forward smash sports the quickest startup and recovery speed, but in turn has the weakest damage output. Typhlosion's attack will count as a disjoint, as well as scoring the highest raw damage amongst the three Pokemon, but, in turn, it will also be the move that recovers the slowest. As for Samurott, this move will sport the slowest startup speed, but on top of sporting the best range, it will also deal heavy shield damage against those who try and block it. All three of these options can be used to kill at higher percents, so don't be afraid to throw it out regardless of which Pokemon you currently have active. The Hisuian Trainer's up smash is Power Rising, with this having the trainer raise their finger into the air, all before ordering their Pokemon to focus their attacks upwards. Decidueye will launch his foes by performing a powerful flip kick, with this move coming out fast and having some solid launch power behind it, much like the up smashes of Fox and Ridley. Typhlosion will attack by bending down and flaring up the fire on its neck, with this creating a wave of rising fire that will deal rapid damage before launching opponents up into the air. Finally, Samurott will stab his shell sword straight up into the air, with the tip of the blade unleashing a blast of searing darkness that will launch foes with solid force. In terms of usability, Typhlosion's up smash sports the best range, allowing it to be used to check platforms and catch opponents trying to land. Samurott's attack will sport the quickest startup speed, meaning they can catch opponents off guard and pull opponents off the ground with the vortex effects of the first strike. Meanwhile, Decidueye's attack is roughly in the middle, sporting decent damage, knockback, and speed, and making it a great move to use if you catch your opponent making a mistake in the neutral. Finally, the Hisuian Trainer's down smash is Power Sweep, which will have the trainer order their Pokemon to cover their perimeter and attack on both sides. Decidueye will attack by flying up and shooting an arrow into the ground, with this arrow exploding on contact and causing a wave of leaves to jet up and surround the trainer. Typhlosion will call forth a series of swirling wisps to protect his trainer from damage and rapidly harm those that get too close, while Samurott will perform a pair of quick draw slashes to cover each side, carefully positioning himself as to not harm his trainer in the process. All three of these attacks are fairly close to each other in terms of power, with the main difference between them being the multi-hitting effects of Typhlosion's attack, while Samurott's will have the fastest startup. Decidueye's attack is roughly in the middle once again, but it also happens to sport a small wind box at the very edge of the move's hitbox to push back foes that are just out of reach, giving the player an extra layer of protection and making it the safest on both shield and whiff. On their own, the Hisuian Trainer's aerial mobility is fairly middle of the road, with an average airspeed and an air acceleration that barely scrapes past the middle of the roster. But depending on what Pokemon is active, the trainer's mobility will change to create unique ways to move about the stage. Decidueye will grant the trainer a third jump, which will have the trainer hold on to Decidueye as he flaps upwards. Typhlosion will allow the player to stall their falling momentum by floating on a carpet of ghostly wisps, which will allow the player to throw off their opponent's rhythm before counterattacking. Finally, Samurott will greatly increase the speed of the trainer's second jump by creating a small blast of water, allowing the player to potentially bypass an attempt to edge guard or get the jump on opponents trying to play keep away. All three of these unique traits are designed to work in tandem with each Pokemon's unique playstyle, so learning how to use them is an important aspect of learning how to play the Hisuian Trainer. The Hisuian Trainer's neutral air is Falling Order, with this having the trainer attack with a long-lasting aerial kick to cover their landing and provide a long-lasting hitbox that can stop jump-ins. Of course, the Pokemon will also assist in their trainer's endeavors, with Decidueye striking with a spinning wing strike to knock foes back, Typhlosion curling up into a ball and surrounding himself in flames to deal rapid damage, while Samurott will quickly spin around in midair with his sword in hand, launching foes with solid force. All three of these attack options serve roughly the same purpose, with the only real difference between them being the rapid hitting effects of Typhlosion's attack. And since all attacks from the trainer's Pokemon count as disjoints, all of them are great at winning trades and allowing the player to land safely. However, it should be known that the trainer's Pokemon will have slightly longer landing leg than the trainer does, so while the trainer might be able to attack out some buttons, their Pokemon will not be able to follow up in time. The Hisuian Trainer's forward air is Aerial Assault Order, with this having the trainer perform a straight kick out in front of themselves to deal small yet quick damage, all while ordering their Pokemon to back them up with an attack of their own. Decidueye will follow up his master's attack by performing a double kick, striking twice before launching the foe away. Typhlosion will unleash a short-range blast of fire to send foes flying back with great force, while Samurott will attack by performing a vertical slash with his sword, dealing solid damage and covering a pretty decent range with his disjointed blade. In terms of design, Typhlosion's attack option is meant to be used as a spacing button and to confirm kills against opponents who are off stage, while both Decidueye and Samurott's options are designed to space and continue combos. Decidueye's attack can even be cancelled early by fast falling during the first strike, allowing the player to potentially follow up with grounded normals and extend their combos at lower percents. But regardless of the situation, all three of these moves are very important to each Pokemon's game plan. The Hisuian Trainer's up air is Anti-Air Order, with this having the trainer point upwards into the air and ordering their Pokemon to aim their attacks skyward. Decidueye will attack by performing a backflip kick, knocking foes upwards on hit. Typhlosion will follow this order by breathing out a stream of fire, covering a wide arc and dealing rapid damage that will launch foes with solid force. Finally, Samurott will attack by backflipping through the air, his sword extended and slashing through all opponents in his path. In comparison to one another, Decidueye's attack is very fast and does little damage, meaning that the player can potentially link this move into itself multiple times at lower percents to rack up damage. As for the others, both Typhlosion and Samurott can use their moves to confirm kills off the top of the screen, all while also juggling opponents at low to mid percents. But thanks to their disjoints, they're also some of the Pokemon's best options for stuffing jump-ins or never giving their opponents a chance to land. The Hisuian Trainer's back air is Rear Guard Order, with this attack having the trainer turn around in midair to point behind themselves, all while issuing an order to their Pokemon to cover their backs. Decidueye will follow this order by clapping both of his wings together, creating a blast of wind and leaves as he launches opponents away with solid force. Typhlosion will follow up this order by causing the flames on his neck to surge, creating a blast of fire that will launch foes away with heavy force. Finally, Samurott will attack by performing a Draw Slash, his blade hitting fast and covering a sizable range as it launches opponents away. Both Decidueye and Samurott's options are their most powerful aerial attacks, with these moves being more than potent enough to confirm kills from mid-screen at decent percents and offstage kills much earlier. As for Typhlosion, his option is roughly on par with his forward air, which is also very powerful and can be used to confirm kills, so don't think you need to commit to only a single attack. Finally, the Hisuian Trainer's down air is Meteor Order, with this having the trainer bend forward and point below themselves, all while issuing an order to their Pokemon to attack below them. Decidueye will back up their trainer by performing a powerful Axe Kick. Typhlosion will attack by swinging his body forward and attacking with a wide-hitting Shadow Claw, while Samurott will attack by performing a downward slash with his Shell Sword. All three of these attacks are designed to work as Meteor Smashes of various power levels, with Typhlosion's being the strongest and Samurott's being the weakest, but all of them are more than potent enough to confirm kills at higher percents. They're also fairly unsafe to land with thanks to their ending leg, so make sure you have a chance to land the move before committing to it. The Hisuian Trainer will grab their opponent by issuing an order to their Pokemon. And depending on the Pokemon currently active, the trainer will have access to unique grab options that will each have their own unique ranges and properties. Decidueye will try to grab onto his opponent by reaching forward with one of his wings, all before pulling them in close with his decent grab range. Samurott will reach forward with his neck to try and bite the opponent, with this being the trainer's fastest grab by a notable margin in exchange for also being the one with the shortest range. Typhlosion, however, will utilize a tether grab comprised of wisps to pull opponents in close, all while also providing the player with both a tether recovery and a Z-Air, with the latter option making for a useful option to use against opponents in the neutral. For their throws, each Pokemon will sport their own unique set of throw options that are tailored to benefit their playstyles, with Decidueye sporting a balanced throw set that can be used to both combo and kill at certain percent thresholds, Typhlosion sporting throws designed more for repositioning and killing, while Samurott lacks a kill throw but in turn sports multiple combo starting throws. Hisuian Trainer's forward throw is Repel Forward, with the trainer ordering their active Pokemon to send their opponent flying in a straight line away from them. Decidueye will drive both of his talons into his opponent in order to knock them away. Typhlosion will launch his opponent by charging into them both flames and shoulder first, while Samurott will perform a stabbing thrust to launch foes with solid force. All three of these throws are designed to be used as repositioning tools, with Decidueye and Typhlosion's option storing enough power to throw most opponents back into mid-range at low percents. Samurot's option, however, is unique in that its launch angle is very straight and low to the ground, making this a great way to potentially set up an offstage kill against characters with notably poor recoveries. The Hisuian Trainer's up throw is Repel Upward, with this having the trainer order their Pokemon to launch their opponent upwards. Decidueye will follow this order by grabbing its opponent in his talons before flying upwards, all before diving back down and slamming them into the ground. Typhlosion will launch his opponent upwards by creating a swirling vortex of fire at their feet, while Samurott will toss his opponent upwards before slicing them in midair with his sword, causing them to fly high into the air. In terms of usability, both Decidueye and Samurott can combo after their throws at low to mid percents, while Typhlosion can use his throw option as a kill option at higher percents thanks to its launch power, although it does have the potential to lead into some of his aerials at very low percents. The Hisuian Trainer's back throw is Repel Backwards, with this having the trainer move in front of their Pokemon before issuing an order to send their opponent flying behind them. Decidueye will grip his opponent tightly with his talons as he performs a backflip, carefully maneuvering around his trainer as he launches the opponent behind him. Typhlosion will launch his opponent by biting down on them, all before turning around and launching them with a point-blank fire blast to the face. Finally, Samurott will launch his foes by performing a rushing slash through them, all while swapping his blade to his other hand as to not harm his trainer in the process. In terms of power, Typhlosion and Decidueye's throw options are powerful enough to confirm kills at higher percents, while Samurott's throw is one of his best repositioning tools and a great way to set up offstage kills. Finally, the Hisuian Trainer's down throw is Repel Downward, with this having the trainer order their Pokemon to knock the opponent down. Decidueye will follow this order by performing a quick vertical slash with his wing, the force of the slash bouncing his opponent off the floor and up into the air. Typhlosion will attack by performing a rapid-hitting flame wheel that will bounce foes up after the final strike, while Samurott will slash at his opponent's legs, knocking him to the floor and leaving them in a hard knockdown state. All three of these throws can be used as combo throws at lower percents, with Decidueye's throw having the longest lasting combo window while Typhlosion's is the shortest, all while Samurott's throw can lead to some dangerous Okizeme opportunities if the player reads their opponent correctly. We've now made it to the Hisuian Trainer Specials, and this is where the trainer will bring their entire team together, utilizing a variety of techniques from their allies to control space and make their approach all the more difficult to contest with. Don't think the trainer's partner Pokemon are being forgotten, however, as they will each sport their own unique special option that will add quite a bit to their already robust designs. Starting with their neutral special, this button is dedicated to attacks that will have the trainer control the first of their ride Pokemon, Ursaluna. As previously mentioned, this burly brute will remain stationary in the location the player summoned them, and should an opponent get too close, Ursaluna will attack them using his signature attack, Headlong Rush. While active, the trainer is capable of calling Ursaluna back into his ball at any time by tapping the B button, and should he take 35% damage, he'll be forced back into his ball outside of his player's control. But it should also be noted that the player is capable of moving Ursaluna around the stage, although it might take a bit of work. If the player holds the B button, the trainer will reach into their pouch and pull out a piece of dazzling honey, all before they enter a throw state, with the player being able to alter the throw angle as long as the B button is held. Once the right angle is chosen, the player can then toss the honey by releasing the B button, and depending on whether or not the honey makes contact with the player, two unique outcomes will play out. With the smell of honey in the air, Ursaluna will then take in its scent before charging towards it at incredible speed, all before quickly chowing down on it and healing 5% damage. All opponents in Ursaluna's path will take a decent chunk of damage from this charging tackle, but that's a lot better than actually getting hit by the honey. Speaking of which, opponents struck by the honey directly will have their movement speed and traction lowered by a small percent, and instead of moving to a set location, Ursaluna will instead chase after the stricken opponent, with this chase lasting for a total of 2.5 seconds before the effects of the honey wears off. This can prove to be quite the terrifying experience, especially since Ursaluna can chase opponents up into the air and onto platforms. But do be careful, as opponents are capable of leaving Ursaluna in inopportune positions, should they not make him accidentally jump off the stage and put himself out of commission, that is. As a result, it's best to chase your opponent alongside Ursaluna, as doing so will maximize damage potential on top of Ursaluna's survivability. Also, since it should be noted, the trainer also has access to a shield special that allows them to swap between their active partner Pokemon, much like the regular Pokemon trainer's down special. For the Hisuian Trainer, their order is Decidueye, Typhlosion, Samurott, then back to Decidueye, although their switch animation is a bit slower than that of the regular trainer. Moving on to their side special, this is the attack that is dedicated to the second of the trainer's ride Pokemon, Wyrdeer. As previously mentioned, Wyrdeer will support his trainer by attacking with his signature move, Psy Shield Bash, which will provide the trainer with a great way to punish opponents in the neutral or close out the combos of their partner Pokemon. This move's properties will change depending on whether or not the player holds the B button during the attack startup animation, with one variation having the trainer send Wyrdeer forward on his own, while the other will have the trainer right upon Wyrdeer's back in order to reposition themselves. much like the villager's Lloyd rocket. And if used in the air, Wyrdeer will use his psychic power to charge through the air without losing altitude, meaning this move can also be used as a horizontal recovery option. Once the attack concludes, Wyrdeer will immediately return to his Pokeball, but any incoming damage will immediately cancel Wyrdeer's advance and have him return to his Pokeball early. If this happens in the air, the trainer will be left in a helpless state and forced to accept their fate, so do be careful. Moving on to their recovery special, this attack is dedicated to the third and last of the trainer's ride Pokemon, Hisuian Braviary. This two-part recovery will provide the trainer with both a strong vertical and horizontal recovery option, but as previously mentioned, taking damage will force Hisuian Braviary back into his ball, and 40% damage will pull him out of commission for 4 seconds. While losing Braviary in midair won't put the trainer in a helpless state, constantly summoning and losing Braviary can potentially force him out of commission much faster, so don't be afraid to swap to Wyrdeer if you think you can catch your opponent off guard with it. Finally, for their down special, the trainer will gain access to a unique stance-changing technique that will not only bring out the best in their partner Pokemon, but also grant the player a whole new way to set up combos and control the stage. Attack Command. With this, the trainer and their Pokemon will quickly take a battle stance as a list of attacks will drop down next to their percent bar, with its visual design taking inspiration from the same attack list of Legends Arceus. These attacks will change depending on which Pokemon is active, and once an attack is chosen, the Pokemon will become independent of their trainer, remaining stationary while the trainer themselves are capable of moving around freely. This can lead to unique follow-ups and 50-50 mix-ups that normally wouldn't be possible, but do keep in mind that the trainer's damage is very low and their range is fairly poor, so don't try to throw yourself into danger that you could easily avoid. Let's talk more about these moves, shall we? Starting with Decidueye, this Pokemon will grant the player access to Triple Arrows, Leaf Blade, Brave Bird, and Aura Sphere while he's active. And unlike Hero who relies on mana, these attacks do not have a resource system, with their main downsides being their long-winded attack animations and the fact that the trainer is left vulnerable while they're attacking. Starting with Triple Arrows, this unique 1-2 attack will have Decidueye perform a wide-hitting backflip kick, knocking nearby foes off the ground and up into the air. If Decidueye fails to hit anyone with this initial kick, the attack will end early, but if it connects, Decidueye will immediately follow up this strike by launching 3 arrows up into the air, all of which will converge on the opponent's position before launching them away with heavy force. For Leaf Blade, this brutally fast attack will have Decidueye quickly turn to the side and strike a pose similar to a samurai ready to draw his blade, all before quickly slashing up behind himself with one of his wings. This slash will heavily damage any opponent that stands in its area of effect, with Decidueye's wing leaving a trail of autumn leaves behind from the force of the cut. And should an opponent be foolish enough to try and block it, they'll find their shields being cleaved in half as they're left in a stun animation. For Brave Bird, this attack will have Decidueye rush forward at incredible speed before rising up into the air, dragging the opponent along before launching them at the end of the move's damage path. This attack will sport a hit of Super Armor during the horizontal rush, allowing it to heavily punish neutral mistakes and close out combos that might launch foes out of Decidueye's damage range, all while acting as a great kill confirm for opponents who are off stage. Finally, there's Aura Sphere, with this having Decidueye build up energy in both hands before thrusting them forward, launching a projectile that will not only move very fast, but also sports some decent priority. In comparison to the same move used by Lucario, this projectile will not gain any power depending on the trainer's percent, but in turn, its charge and recovery speed are much faster, allowing the player to cover their approach and potentially lock their opponent into one of their ride Pokemon's attacks. Moving on to Typhlosion, this Pokemon will grant the player access to Infernal Parade, Flamethrower, Overheat, and Shadow Ball, with Typhlosion's kit being designed to work best at mid to long range and swamp its opponents with projectile damage. Starting with Infernal Parade, this projectile option will have Typhlosion launch out a series of 3 ghostly wisps that will cover a line across the screen, and after a brief delay, the wisps will explode and deal damage to all opponents in its area of effect. This move will cover a sizable horizontal range, allowing the player to cut off parts of the stage and move forward with little to no problem. But should an opponent be hit by 1 wisp, they'll be bounced into the other 2 wisps before being launched away. For Flamethrower, Typhlosion will take a low stance before unleashing a wide-hitting breath of flame, with this covering a sizable range as Typhlosion slowly tilts its head up. This is, by far, Typhlosion's scariest neutral option and a great way to halt an opponent's approach thanks to the range this move provides. And once the flames hit, it'll be quite difficult to escape unless you're at very high percents. For Overheat, Typhlosion will take a moment to build up energy before unleashing a huge outward blast of flame, covering a sizable range and heavily damaging opponents who are too close. This is designed to work as Typhlosion's main get-off-me tool, with this move's knockback being more than powerful enough to confirm kills at higher percents and push opponents out of your comfort zone at low to mid percents. And thanks to the move's properties, it can even be used to destroy projectiles if timed just right. Just mind the long cooldown. Finally, there's Shadow Ball, with this having Typhlosion launch out a blob of volatile shadow that will travel slowly across the screen. This can allow the player to move with their projectile in order to cover their approach. And once the blob makes contact with an opponent, it will explode outwards and deal wide-hitting splash damage, allowing the player to potentially deal damage to multiple opponents at once. Last up is Samurott, with this Pokemon granting his player access to Ceaseless Edge, X-Scissor, Aqua Tail, and Retaliate. As Samurott is designed to be the most aggressive of the three Pokemon, it's no surprise that his specials are designed to push him forward and deal quick yet sizable damage. And thanks to the disjoint of his blade, he's more than capable of taking out any opponent that wishes to match his sword. Starting with Ceaseless Edge, this move will have Samurott take a moment to build up dark energy within his blade, all before rushing forward and slashing through all opponents in his path. Anyone caught in this move's path will take rapid damage before they're launched away horizontally, all while being afflicted with a small damage over time effect that will add even more to this move's offensive strength. For X-Scissor, this powerful close-range attack will have Samurott use both of his shell swords at once, creating a pair of energy blades that will travel forward a short distance and deal damage to the first opponent they hit. This move is an excellent anti-pressure option and a great way to check buttons and poorly placed tilts. And despite having the visual design of a projectile, it does not count as one, so it cannot be reflected. For Aqua Tail, this attack will have Samurott perform a retreating backflip slash, with this causing a pillar of water to rise from the ground and launch foes away with solid force. This move will come up fast and cover a large vertical range, allowing the player to cover high recoveries and knock opponents off of platforms. And should the opponent not be hit by the pillar directly, the push effects of the water will at least keep them out of range, giving their trainer some protection. Finally, there's Retaliate, with this having Samurott take a counter stance. If an opponent makes contact with Samurott in this state, he will immediately draw his blade and slash clean through them, the force of his cleaving blow launching them away with heavy force as it leaves a trail of cherry blossoms in its wake. This attack will increase in damage depending on the attack that Samurott counters, all while instantly destroying any projectiles in its path. But thanks to its longer counter window, it also sports a longer cooldown than your average counter to compensate. All 12 of these attacks have clear strengths and weaknesses that will add a ton of versatility to each Pokemon's game plan, and in turn, add unique ways the player can utilize their ride Pokemon to overwhelm their opponents with damage. However, each attack is also a notable risk to the trainer's survivability, as the Pokemon will become detached and act independently, forcing the trainer to fend for themselves for a short while that could spell their end if they aren't careful. As a result, placement and spacing are very important, and do remember that your ride Pokemon can serve as both valuable distractions and 1-2 punches if used in tandem with these unique commands. Next is the Final Smash, and for this, it's about time a certain legendary Pokemon finally makes an appearance. Empowered by Arceus, the creator and legendary being that brought them to Hisui and set them on their adventure to save the land from ruin, this is Legendary Judgment. When the Final Smash starts, the Hisuian Trainer will pull out their Legend Plate and raise it to the sky, it flashing a series of colors and creating a portal of light that will summon forth Arceus, the mythical Pokemon of Legends and the creator of the Pokemon world itself. At this point, Arceus will let out a cry before unleashing a beam of light forward, and should any opponent be in its path, they will be knocked off the ground and locked into a cinematic Final Smash. Once the cinematic begins, Arceus will use his overwhelming power to stop time around his opponents, causing them to float in midair before bombarding them with his signature attack, Judgment. These repeated strikes will cause the fabric of space and time to warp and crack around the caught opponents. And once enough damage has been dealt, Arceus will let out one final cry as he brings his hooves down onto the ground, causing time and space to return to normal as his opponents are launched with very heavy force. This very powerful attack shows Arceus' control over all of reality, and once the attack concludes, Arceus will let out one final cry as he stands on his hind legs, all before disappearing in a bright flash of light as the trainer returns to their idle animation. For their victory theme, the Hisuian Trainer will use a combination of both the regular trainer battle theme and the jingle that plays when the battle comes to a close in Legends Arceus, creating a theme that feels not only fitting for the trainer themselves, but also for the Pokemon that they wield. It's short, it's simple, and it helps make your victory feel well earned. Victory animation number 1 will have the Hisuian Trainer dodge roll into view of the camera before tossing out one of their Pokemon, with the trainer always saying out the Pokemon they last had out when they won the fight. Both the trainer and their Pokemon will strike a confident pose for the camera, and will continue to hold this pose until the player cycles back to the character select screen. Victory animation number 2 will show the Hisuian Trainer pampering one of their Pokemon, which will change depending on which Pokemon the player had active when they won the battle. This animation is fairly similar to the one used by the original Pokemon trainer, but this one animation has the unique bonus of not only working on the starter Pokemon. Should the player win with a move from one of their 3 ride Pokemon, the trainer will instead pamper that Pokemon over the partner Pokemon the player had active at the time, making this a 6-in-1 victory animation with a variety of different dialogue. Finally, victory animation number 3 will have the trainer toss out their entire team, with all of them striking a pose with the camera as the blinding silhouette of Arceus can be seen standing proudly behind them. This unique victory animation can play at any time, but has a higher chance of playing should the trainer win using their final smash. Taunt number 1 will have the trainer's active Pokemon perform a unique flourish animation, with the trainer themselves encouraging their Pokemon to keep going as they're doing great. Decidueye will show off by spinning an arrow on one of his fingers, all before catching it and slipping it back into his wings. Typhlosion will raise a hand to his mouth and laugh as his fire will flare up, a series of wisps flying in and out of his flames before he returns to his idle animation. Finally, Samurott will flip his blade around in his hand, lowering his body close to the ground and growling as if he's ready to attack. Taunt number 2 will have the same structure as Taunt number 1 and have the Pokemon show off while the trainer encourages them to keep going. Decidueye will stand on one leg and strike a confident battle pose, clacking his talons together in anticipation of an incoming attack. Typhlosion will lean back and spit up a small fireball, all before catching it on his head and letting it roll along his shoulder. Finally, Samurott will sharpen his blade by grinding it along the armor on his shoulder, creating a wave of sparks before he puts it back in his sheath. Finally, Taunt number 3 will have the trainer toss their Pokeball up into the air and catch it, all before striking a pose that their Pokemon will follow up with one of their own. Decidueye will stand proud as it ruffles its feathers, tilting its hat up a bit as he glares at his opponent. Typhlosion will let out a long yawn, shaking his head to get the sleep out and causing small embers to spray around him. Finally, Samurott will stab his shell sword into the ground, puffing out his chest to seem threatening before pulling out the blade and returning to his idle animation. For their colors, the Hisuian Trainer will swap between the many outfits the player can purchase in Pokemon Legends Arceus, all while their Pokemon will have the color of their most defining feature change with each color option. This includes Decidueye's red feathers and hat, Typhlosion's fire, and Samurott's armor, while all their other colors will remain the same. Color number 1 is the standard appearance of the male Hisuian Trainer Ray, with this featuring the Survey Corps standard deep blue outfit, red scarf, and beige sandals. All of the Pokemon will also keep their original colors, with Decidueye rocking its standard plumage, Typhlosion's fire being a blend of purple and red, while Samurott's armor is a jet black with red highlights. Color number 2 is the standard appearance of the female Hisuian Trainer Hikari, featuring the same Survey Corps outfit as Ray save for her cloth hat. As for her Pokemon, Decidueye's red feathers will be changed to a blazing orange, Typhlosion's fire will be changed to a blend of orange and blue, while Samurott's armor will be changed to a striking orange with yellow highlights. Color number 3 will have the male trainer wear both the everyday kimono and everyday trousers, with this outfit being dyed a deep blue as the trainer themselves will keep the Survey Corps hat. Alongside this new outfit, the trainer's Pokemon will also change colors to match the new outfit, with Decidueye's plumage being changed to a deep blue, Typhlosion's flames being changed to a mixture of royal and ice blue, while Samurott's armor would be changed to an ice blue with orange highlights. Color number 4 will have the female trainer wearing the same basic kimono as the male trainer, only instead of being blue, she'll wear a purple kimono alongside her Survey Corps headkerchief. As for her Pokemon, Decidueye's plumage will be dyed a royal purple, Typhlosion's flames will be changed to a blend of purple and pink, while Samurott's armor will be changed to a deep purple with pink highlights. Color number 5 will have the male trainer wear a red set of ninja gear, with this being one of the many outfits the player can purchase in Legends Arceus after making progress in the game. As for his Pokemon, Decidueye's originally red plumage will be darkened, all while his yellow feathers will become a crimson red. Typhlosion's flames will take on the appearance of real fire with its blend of red and orange, while Samurott's armor will be changed to a crimson red with orange highlights. Color number 6 will have the female trainer wearing a pine green bandit outfit, which is designed to mimic the look of the Misfortune Bandits. As for her Pokemon, they too will take on a green color scheme, with Decidueye's plumage being changed to a forest green, Typhlosion's flames being changed to a blazing jade green, while Samurott's armor will change to a deep green with red highlights. Color number 7 will have the male trainer don the outfit of the Diamond Clan, one of the game's major factions and the ones that worship the Lord of Time, Dialga. To go in line with this outfit, the trainer's Pokemon will receive colors based on the Creation Trio, with Decidueye's plumage being changed to a blend of blue and gray, Typhlosion's fur being changed to a striking white while its flames will burn a bright pink, all while Samurott's fur will change to a blend of black and gray while his armor is changed to a blend of muted yellow and red. Finally, color number 8 will have the female trainer don the outfit of the Pearl Clan, the second major faction of the game and the ones that worship the Lord of Space, Palkia. As for her Pokemon, all of them will don their shiny colors, with Decidueye's feathers changing to a blend of deep green and brown, Typhlosion's fur will change to a deep blue while his flames will take on a regular color, and Samurot's armor will be changed to a blend of snow white and gray. When it comes to adding Pokemon characters to Smash Bros., the topic of additional trainers has been a serious talking point ever since the Pokemon trainers' inclusion in Brawl. While others would go on to talk about and design movesets for a variety of trainer characters, be it other player characters or even popular NPCs, next to none of them seem to really understand what makes the Pokemon trainer work so well, all while adding next to nothing to the trainer's formula. As a result, I used to be against the idea of adding additional trainers, at least until Legends Arceus released, adding the potential to not only have a trainer that could be separated from its contemporaries, but also serve as a character that could represent the changes Arceus made to the series' usual gameplay loop. While I would adore to see the Hisuian Trainer be playable in Smash, or anything major from Hisui for that matter, the fact that it's not technically a mainline game, but also a Gen 8 title, means it's destined to be forgotten outside of maybe a few Pokeball Pokemon and a stage. Truly a shame for what was a good game in its own right. Regardless, I've been wanting to make this moveset for a while, and I can only hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it. If you like what you saw, be sure to like and comment, as it not only helps with the algorithm, but also gives me a much needed boost in morale. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to jump right into the other movesets I've made, follow the link in the description to go to my Challengers Concept playlist. Just be sure you press that little bell icon, as doing so will leave you assured that you'll never miss a future upload. For now, I've been Felicia Fan, and I hope that you have a good one.